Greetings and salutations to all of you lovely, fluffy, non-fluffy, and equally beautiful listeners out there. I am halfway on the couch, halfway on the floor as I'm recording this because it has been a long week. Let me tell ya. Oh, we got a lot to cover. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to all of you who are being so supportive and so lovely with the newest video that just went up. It is the A&E Anthro New England con video that you all, or some of you may have seen already. And also the love stream that happened on Friday. You all have been so kind, showing up and showing your support and just chatting and chilling and just having a good time with me. I really do appreciate you. And of course, to all of you on Twitch and elsewhere who have been just so lovely with all of your kind words and your support and, just your donations and everything that really does mean the world to me. Honestly, I say it a lot, but I cannot thank you enough for your continued support and being there and just, being on this adventure with me. It really does mean the most, and I could not thank you enough for your continued support and your love throughout all well, even the beginning of this year, this new year that we're in. I cannot believe it's February already, let me tell you. So, what's been going on? Well, I already told the story about A&E and the crazy flights and this and that went on, so we won't go into that, but I will tell you about a few things that have been happening as of late. It's been it's been quite a ride since our last podcast already. Yeah, let's just get right into it. So, a couple of boring things to get out of the way. Excuse me. A couple of boring logistic things. I have recently found out that my workplace has cut overtime. They have officially put an end to overtime, which sucks because, well, they gave the same corporate reasons, oh, got to do budget cuts, make sure nobody gets laid off, that kind of thing. And by the way, just to my work's credit, they are doing everything they can to not lay anybody off, which I think is like super awesome and really considerate of them because we're hearing about it everywhere. People are getting laid off. As a matter of fact, my own cousin got laid off recently. She works. She's not a lawyer, but she works she worked in a law office, and recently got laid off from her job. And she's got 3 little kids, my second cousins, and it's a really sad deal because she's a mom. She's married. Her husband works. Sorry, I had to pause there. I had to sneeze. Excuse me. Anyway, so yeah, it's been happening in more places. Some of my own friends have been laid off from their jobs, and it's a really sad deal. My own dad, as many of you know, got laid off recently. Well, they called it a layoff, but it was more of a termination situation that is a whole other story, which I wouldn't get into. But yeah, they said it was a layoff for various reasons, but I know that that's BS. But anyway, so it's been happening all over the place, and I'm still thankful to have a job. I'm thankful that I'm able to continue to work in this place that I've enjoyed working for the past 4 years, and I plan to continue that for the near future, we'll say. But yeah, it's been kind of rough out there. So any of you out there who are struggling with potentially losing your job, getting laid off, whatever the case, I really hope that you can get back on your paws and you can find some ground and you're able to work that out because with layoffs, it's an unfortunate thing, but doesn't mean that there are not opportunities out there for you. So who knows? Maybe, you departing from a job means that it's time to try something new, something different, maybe something you're passionate about, maybe something that you weren't sure that you were going to go for originally that you can go for now. So I highly encourage you to pursue those things if you can, if you're able to, and also use what you have in these desperate times. So, it may be poetic and maybe cliche, whatever you want to call it, but I think it's an opportunity. It's all about how you look at it. It truly is, or it truly can be an opportunity to do more and do the most of what you're planning to do. So I really hope that for you. So yeah, that's been kind of the new rundown of things. Um, I won't get into it too deep, but the other things that have been going on a more personal level is I've been kind of reassessing some friendships and relationships in my life, and I've had to make some really tough decisions, had to have some hard conversations recently with some individuals that I consider very close to me, and that's never easy. To make a long story short, sometimes you have to own up to your own mistakes, and sometimes you have to face the music, as it were, and you you can't hide from the truth forever. Eventually, it's going to be brought to light, and you're going to have to address it. So I've had to do that a couple times these past couple weeks, and I've had to, like I said, have some hard conversations, and I am thankful to say that the conversations went better than I expected, and going forward, hoping to work out our differences and come to a new sense of understanding and a new place that can be that can be that can be understood by both parties and can be a way of growth forward as these friendships go on. And sometimes you do have to have those hard conversations with people. Sometimes you have to sit down with somebody and say, "Hey, look, I screwed up," or "Here's where I was hurt," or "I'm sorry that I hurt you," or "This is not my intention," or whatever the case may be. It's important to take accountability. It's important to realize your own shortcomings and admit to them when you were wrong. And having to do that is not easy. And it certainly wasn't easy on my end, let me tell you. But um, it was absolutely necessary. And I have to say, after those conversations were had, I do feel like the world has lifted off of my shoulders. I feel a lot lighter, I feel a lot more, I feel like I'm in a much better place mentally, and some things aren't playing on my mind as much as they were for the past few weeks to months, and yeah, I'm really thankful that we got to have those opportunities to sit down and talk like people, like human beings, like adults, and hash out what we needed to in our lives. So, if any of you out there are struggling in a relationship or a friendship or whatever the case, I really hope that you can find it within yourself and find it within that person as well to put aside your differences, work out your differences, address the problems in the room, and be open and transparent about what went wrong. A lot of times those conversations aren't easy, and a lot of times we shy away from said conversations. But I'll just say this: the longer you let them sit, the worse it gets, and the more hurt is going to come to pass. So um, I feel like, I've definitely learned my lesson in that, where that's considered. And I've talked about this with my therapist quite a bit, um, going through kind of like, okay, so where am I lacking in this area? How can I be better in these relationships? And how can I um, be more of myself? And he basically told me that it's important to be honest, be firm, set boundaries, don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to say that's unacceptable, and don't take under any circumstances should you take any abuse or manipulation from anybody. So, and I'm not saying that that was the case with these conversations that I had. Far from it. It's more um, as a ground rule. You don't want to take any potential malicious intent that may be coming your way, which I'm thankful to say has not been the case with these conversations. But it's still possible. It's still a possibility in the future, and heaven knows I've had to I've had to address those types of situations in the past. Sorry about that. My keyboard fell and it accidentally stopped the recording, so that's fun. Uh, so, yeah, basically all that to say is just know your value. Know the value that you are, and know your perceived value of yourself, and realize that you do carry value. And part of perceived value, which I've talked about in therapy quite a bit, is knowing when to address something, knowing when to put a stop to something, knowing when to set boundaries and set limits, and also admit when you are wrong. Those are all part of growth, and they're all part of being human. And though many of us struggle with such things, it's not impossible, and it takes some practice, but just know that once those things come to light, then then you'll become unstoppable. Then you become bulletproof, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. So that's been some character development over the past couple weeks, and I'm proud to say that it has worked out for the better, and I'm looking forward to how things continue to work out in our favor as we go forward. So uh, that's uh, that's been a really nice, I think, turning point over this past week, and it helps me to kind of go into this year with a clear understanding of self. And I hope that I can encourage those out there listening to this, and encourage others to be brave when you can be. Be brave when it's necessary, and don't be afraid ever, because there is more to life than living in conflict, let me tell you. So that was this past couple weeks, part of it. And on a more lighter note, I want to talk about something that I did this past week that um, I think is worth talking about. So I went someplace that I hadn't been to since the release of Zootopia 2. I went to the movie theater, and what did I see? I saw Iron Lung. Now, I know that there is a lot surrounding this movie. Like, oh my gosh, like not only is it a fully funded, fully independent, non-Hollywood project that Markiplier, aka Mark Fishbach, has um, written, directed, developed, and distributed pretty much all on his own with the help of his crew. But the fact that it's doing as well as it is just blows my mind. Like, I can't believe that something like this has, broken the screen, and, came running onto the scene without the help of a studio distribution to get the word out and to get it to the place in the charts that it is now. Like, I am completely impressed by the progress of it. I'm impressed by the development of it and the distribution, and not only that, but the charitable efforts that have gone into this movie. So, as many people may not know, there is a large movement that's going with the release of this movie, of blood donations. As it stands right now, I'm not entirely sure the numbers or statistics of it, but I know that there is a blood shortage in the specifically in the U.S. With blood donations, and I know that a fair amount of people have stepped up, including Mark himself, have stepped up and donated blood in honor of this movie, and also to help with the shortage in the medical field, which is super awesome because we need that plasma, to those who are in need, who, struggle, who need transplants, bypasses, like all kinds of things. It's a huge, huge deal that Mark and his crew and this movie have set up, and I'm just proud to see that happen. I'm proud to see that go down. Um, and with the um, efforts that this movie has brought, it is. I know that Charlie, aka Moist Critical, has talked about this already, but I feel like I can throw my 2 cents in. Um, Hollywood seems to be shaking in its boots at the release of this movie. And just to kind of echo Charlie on this point, um, this is something that when you think of Hollywood, a lot of times the first thing, especially in modern day, when you think of the word Hollywood or the name Hollywood, the first thing that comes to mind isn't usually positive, right? It's no longer about movies, it's no longer about production, it's no longer about actors. No, it's usually when the average person thinks of Hollywood, they often think of malicious things, dark secrets and things happening behind the scenes. And there's been a lot of things that have come to light through Hollywood, which, some of the things I'm reading, and, you don't have to be a smart person or even up on the news to read or to understand what's going on and what has been going on in Hollywood for the past number of decades. But, the things that have come to light. Um, and the Iron Lung, I think, is a good example of the possibilities of getting an indie film fully funded and distributed, released to the public, and the wonders that it can do. Now, granted, and this is a big granted, Mark is indeed in a good position to make this happen. He's been a YouTuber for many years. He's got the funds, he's got the resources, and he's got the pull to make this movie successful. That is a given for sure. But one of the things that he said in one of his live streams a couple days ago is he wants to make this overall, he wants to make this release of this movie to be an inspiration to those who maybe are struggling as filmmakers, who are struggling, um, actors, directors, writers, indie filmmakers, you know, the categorization of, smaller creators who can find it within themselves to make something like this possible. The inspiration that goes along with the fact that it is possible and you can do this. It is something that you can do as a young filmmaker, as a small time creator, and make something great. And for it to be seen and for it to be distributed and for it to be have all the possibilities that only Hollywood would normally promise. You don't always have to make a deal with the devil in a sense of saying, um, in order to get your work seen. So I thought that was truly something to mention. That was something to acknowledge, is the fact that yes, it is true. Putting your work out there can indeed gain traction if you work hard enough, if you work at it long enough, if sometimes it may take some revision or, doing multiple films or projects over and over and over. Eventually, your work will be seen, and eventually it'll be seen by the right people, and it can spread like wildfire. Now, that's not a guarantee. I mean, I'm a big fluffy animal on the internet. Like, how far is my stuff really going to go, right? But I think it's a good way to show that there is drive and there is opportunity and there is truly something to be said about never giving up on your passions, on your projects, and truly putting yourself into making something and making it as good as you can. And maybe, just maybe, one day that something that you made will indeed gain the attention that it deserves. And believe me, there's a lot of creators out there, and there's a lot of, you know, indie there's a lot of indie makers out there, and a lot of content creators and the like, who, of course, we all want our work to be seen on some level, and it does get seen on some level, be it small or eventually to maybe viral status. But you know that all that to say is, keep working at what you love, because you never know what could happen. You never know if that one thing or those two things or handful of things will be picked up and seen and appreciated for what it truly deserves. So I encourage you all, those of you content creators out there, keep working, keep doing, keep creating, keep doing what you do the best, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. So as for the movie itself, I'm not going to dispel any spoilers, I promise. Um, I know that I was kind of going into this with the mind of a gamer. So in case any of you don't know, the movie Iron Lung is actually based on an indie horror game that came out, I want to say, in 2022, somewhere around that neighborhood of years. Um, and I can't let me look up the creator real quick of Iron Lung, just for the sake of continuity, because I did not prepare for this as usual. Let's see who created Iron Lung. That would be David Seismensky. Um, and this was in, yeah, 2022. Awesome, we got the year right. So David Seismansky created an indie horror game called Iron Lung back in 2022, and the story goes that Markiplier, who played the game on his channel back in that time, was so taken and enamored by it, and so just like it was so impactful to him that he went to David and said, "Hey, we should make this into a movie." And I imagine, I don't know how the conversation went, but I imagine David's first reaction was, "Really? You're crazy. There's no way that this would be a movie." And they did it. They absolutely did it. And they made it an amazing project that came to light. And wow, it really blew me away. I'm not gonna lie, it was quite a film. Um, it's it's billed as a horror movie. I would say it's more along the lines of it's an eerie sort of movie. It's sort of like a eerie kind of, vibe. It's got horror elements, of course, but it's not so much of like a shock factor jump scare type of movie, as you would see with like Terrifier, right? It's more of like a slow burn type of horror movie, and I know not everybody's going to appreciate that. Not everyone likes a slow burn horror movie, but I I myself in particular, I enjoy that type of horror movie. I enjoy that type of slow burn, kind of take your time horror, just to kind of unravel a story to see where it takes you. And that is exactly what Iron Lung did, from the beginning to the end. And granted, 90% of the movie was mostly Markiplier on screen, um, you know, screaming, talking to himself, kind of seeing this character sort of unravel mentally, physically, and other. Again, no spoilers, but you'll have to go see the movie. But it is, yeah, it is my type of horror. I like the sort of liminal, eerie. I've said eerie a lot, but sort of off-putting, unsettling vibe kind of a movie. And I've referenced this movie before, but another film that comes to mind that is also an indie horror experience is Skinamarink. So throwing out a bunch of titles here, but Skinamarink is a horror movie, but it's deeply unsettling. Like it's one of those movies that kind of messes with you psychologically, and it makes you wonder what's actually going on here. And as the story goes on, you kind of start to figure out what is actually happening, right? And that's exactly, in my mind, what Iron Lung has completed, what it has achieved, is just this deeply rooted mental anguish type of movie that leaves you wondering not only what is real and what is reality versus what is, mental versus, yeah, it it just it takes you into many different spaces, head spaces and physical spaces. And let me tell you, the movie at the start, I'll be honest, at the start of it, the movie was it's kind of hard to get into. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit hard to get into. I was like, okay, well, we just have this character who's doing this kind of stuff, and we understand sort of the plot that's going on, but as the movie progressed, I became more and more locked in. Like I was hooked. Like I did not revert my eyes from that screen for 1 second. As a matter of fact, and by the way, I went to the movie theater after work this past Monday alone. I didn't see it with anybody, but yeah, I was glued to the screen. At one point, I like slumped down in my chair and I had like my knees up and I was kind of hugging my knees a little bit. And I was just like, no, no, oh no. Just like every single little second of something happening, I was just locked in. Like I was sitting there in suspense, wondering how this is going to resolve. And again, no spoilers, but let's just say by the end of it, it will leave you in a state of what just happened. Right. That's kind of how I felt with it. It left me in a state of questioning, it left me in a state of wonderment, and I didn't know where to even go when I left that movie theater. As a matter of fact, once the movie ended, I immediately stood up and walked right out of the theater and straight to my car. And I sat in the car for a few good minutes, not only to let it warm up, but just to kind of process what I had just seen. And I honestly couldn't. Like I'll be transparent with you. I could not fully process what I had just seen. I was just so enamored with it, but also taken aback by it because I didn't. I was just like, whoa, you know, that experience is something that I cannot even comprehend. It's the same feeling that I got when I first saw Skinamarink, or when I first read through the Mandela effect, I'm sorry, not effect, the Mandela catalogs, excuse me. Um, which I would also highly recommend if you like analog horror, but that's neither here nor there. Um, and I drove home and I just kind of like sat in my I sat in my anguish for a little bit, but it was a good kind of anguish. It was the kind of just like the butterfly in the stomach horror that I just love. I love that feeling of just feeling like, ooh, this is a good, like scary, eerie feeling. And yeah, I feel lumps in my stomach and ooh, I love that. Just that, it tickles you almost. It's great. So yeah, I highly recommend you go see Iron Lung while it's still in theaters if you can. It's a real treat. And if you are a fan of Markiplier like I have been for gosh, going on like 13 years now, I've been watching his videos. Yeah, I'm very very impressed with his work and the work of the crew and David's work in the game, and it's just been yeah, it was an absolute joy to get to experience. So yeah, if you are able to, go see it. It is well worth your time, especially if you're a horror fan or if you're a slow burn horror fan. Liminal, excuse me, liminal space, you know, feeling of isolation kind of horror. That's what I like. So I think that's why I like The Shining so much. Is yeah, The Shining had like shock elements and like it's, bloody, bludgeoning elements to it, but there was a lot. As a matter of fact, most of the movie, I would argue, is a slow burn and a slow progression of just madness. And I think that's why I like it so much, is it plays on like the human psyche of just experiencing isolation and experiencing the madness within if you let yourself be taken by it. So, you know, if you like that kind of thing, then you'll like Iron Lung. So yeah, that was a good start to my week, I have to say. Um, Other than that, I've been preparing for MCFC, Motor City FurCon, which is next weekend. I'm looking forward to that. I'll be there for a few days. Looking forward to seeing friends and being fluffy and, experiencing the new hotel in Detroit, Michigan. So that'll be a wonderful time. I love that con, and I have high expectations to how that's going to turn out at the new hotel. I am going to miss the old hotel, just by reasons of memory and nostalgia, really. Just that feeling of being in that space. But I understand why they moved to new hotels because of attendance numbers going up, which is a good thing. But also, just that, I'm gonna miss the fire pits outside. I'm gonna miss the golf course, and the sunrise coming deep over the horizon. I'm gonna miss, the fountains outside and, just the the giant courtyard that all the fursuiters can hang out in. And, I'm gonna miss that place. It's a lot of good memories are made there. Of course, can't talk about MCFC without talking about, and I mentioned this before, but for 2 years in a row, we had bomb threats at the old hotel, so I won't miss that for sure. But, let's hope that this year is clean and clear and we don't have to worry about any dangers. So, yeah, um, looking forward to that. And if any of you are going to MCFC, I'm looking forward to seeing you. So, yeah, that'll be a lovely time. So, it is currently 2:03 a.m. as I'm recording this because I've been lazy and I've just been, kind of out of it and not really doing what I'm supposed to, but I'm doing this because we're doing it. You know, I'm doing this because I want to and want to give you all sort of an update of what's been going on. So, I appreciate you sticking with me this long, but I want to I want to end this shorter podcast by just talking about something that's been on my mind lately, and this is not easy to talk about, but you know, I think it's necessary. Only do things when you're ready, and that may sound kind of out of left field, but let me explain. So, as a lot of you may or may not know, I have been sort of coming to terms with my own orientation, my sexual identity, and such for the past number of years, and I feel pretty confident in my sexuality as it stands now. I know that I'm ace or gray ace, asexual, and also pansexual. That's something that I've recently, within the past couple of years, I've come to terms with in what I believe is my sexual identity. And here's the thing. I want to explain. I'm not a huge fan of labels. I'm not really a label person. But those are the two I think that are closest to my identity as I can muster. So if I had to put labels on my sexual orientation, it would have to be gray ace and pansexual. Now, I've had this conversation with myself many times over the years, ever since I can remember. Like, I'm talking middle school, high school, and probably even before that, knowing that I wasn't fully heterosexual, as a cis male, right? The expectation, as it were, as a cis male, right? Especially at the time of questioning these things. But anyway, that's what I've come to terms with, and I know I haven't really talked about it on the podcast or really anywhere else, to be honest. But I think, this is I think this is a good time to discuss it because I will I will be honest with you all. I've had a bit of an urge actually this past evening when I was visiting my parents. So, as a lot of you know, I usually go to my parents' house once a week and I help them with chores. I help them with whatever they need. I'll do laundry, whatever is needed at that time. And while I was having a conversation with my mom, we were just talking about, different things and stuff that's going on in our lives, just catching up. I had this unbelievable urge to come out to her right then and there. And I didn't, mostly because I don't know if I'm fully ready yet, and I don't think they're fully ready yet, but I do question when is the right time, and I've had conversations about this with various friends over the years. And I think the main takeaway with this is to not do something until you feel confident and ready to do it. Now, granted, there are some situations where that may not be possible. Maybe you get outed by a family member or a friend or, a close family member. Maybe heaven forbid, your immediate family finds something about you online and questions you about it. Those are all situations that sometimes can't be avoided. But I will say, if you have the opportunity to, um, have the opportunity to be ready and willing and prepared to say something to your immediate family or friends about yourself, just be sure that you know that the time is right. And a lot of times you'll hear people say, you'll just know when the moment's right. You'll know when the time comes. You'll be able to do it when it is time. And I believe that to be true. I do believe that to be true as something that excuse me. Oh my gosh, I think my laying down is causing some ripple effects in my throat. But anyway, I believe that to be true. I believe that the opportunity will come when you are fully ready. And maybe you won't be fully ready. Maybe there is a situation where you won't be fully ready and then it comes out and, or you're outed, like I said. But, you know, as long as you have the main points to discuss and as long as you remind them that you love them and hopefully they love you and, you want to be close with them, you want to continue to be in their lives. I'm not sure what your situation is with that, but I know with my situation in particular, um, it would be hard for them to accept. And I know that because I've had conversations with them in the past about this kind of thing, and they haven't always gone well. So now, that doesn't mean that they won't accept me. That doesn't mean that they won't, that they'll stop loving me. That doesn't mean that they'll, completely estrange me or shut me out. But, I just know that at this time, it's not the right time. It's not the time to do it. And I just hope that maybe one day that opportunity will come. And when it does, then I'll be able to have the confidence and the ground and the firmness to say, look, I'm an adult. I'm making my own decisions. This is how I feel, and I've felt this way for a long time. And I'm not asking you to accept me or accept it right away, but just know that I still love you and I want to be loved by you, continue to be loved by you, and I want to continue to be a part of this family. And as long as you have those, as long as you have those beliefs and those core, those basically your core values in place of what you expect out of a relationship, specifically immediate family, then I think it can do wonders. It can go a long way and it can be so much more than you expect it to be. So, that being said, another note of encouragement is only be there and only say things and only come out, whatever the case, when you're ready and when you feel prepared. So, and even in the situations where you're not prepared, just trust in your own confidence. Believe that you are able to do it. Know that you are not alone. And you have plenty of support out there for you, even if things don't go well. So, yeah, I've learned that. I feel like I've developed a pretty good network of people who will be there to be supportive if that were ever come to pass. But I hope that it's my hope that one day I'll be able to find it within myself to say something and to be real and transparent and honest, and I'll be able to accept their response, and with all the hope that they still accept me and love me as a person. So, yeah, that being said, I think that's where I'm going to end the podcast is, just remember that you're not alone no matter what. And there's always support out there and there's always love out there. Even if it's not from your own family, you can find it, and it'll oftentimes find you first. So, yeah, um, just something that's been on my mind, something I'm thinking about, and I hope that one day, um, I hope that one day things will work out the way that they're supposed to and for the better. Because at the end of the day, we're all people, we're human, we love and we care about each other, we're here for each other because no individual person is meant to do this life alone. You are not an island, and there is so much more for you out there, no matter what the circumstances. So, that being said, I want to thank you if you've listened this far. I want to thank you for all of your support once again and all of your love, and all of you who have been so kind and generous, with your time and your, you know, everything that you've given on this platform and other platforms. It truly does mean the world, and I cannot thank you enough for it. So, that being said, remember, sic Parvis Magna. Greatness from small beginnings. Remember where you started and where you came from. Don't forget those who stand by you to this day and those who brought you up. And make sure that you tell them that you love them, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. And always remember to be you. Be yourself. There's never been anyone like you in the past. There's no one like you in the present now. And there will never be anyone like you in the future. Only you can do the things the way that you do best. And that is your future to decide. No one can decide it for you, and no one can tell you who you can and can't be or what you can and can't do. That is for you. So, once again, I want to thank you for listening. This is Samson Kitty Fox, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye. Bye. Love you. Meow meow.